patient with me for a second. Alrighty. Oh, shoot. Oh, no. Yeah, it's this one. Okay, well, welcome to, hold on, are you guys there? I feel like I just lost you all. Oh, are you here? Okay, that's good. Were you guys there? All right, okay, good. Sorry, it totally took you away in a way it's never done before. Okay, let me share my screen again. I'm so sorry. Okay. So anyway, thank you so much for joining us this evening. My name is Julie. I will be your hostess. You are going to be hearing from some amazing women, their stories tonight. And we have a lot of information that we're going to share with you in a very brief period, but we appreciate you taking some time to learn more because we're excited to share what we have to share. So if you have been invited tonight, it's because the person who invited you is a part of an amazing community called the Healthy Living Revolution, where together we are coming alongside of individuals and families and helping them to take their health back in ways that are simple, doable, and fun. And so they care about you and they just want you to hear what they have been up to. And of course, specifically tonight, we're going to be speaking about pregnancy. So I'm going to kick it off by reading you this amazing quote from Dr. Mitra Ray in her document, Eating for Two. She says, when sperm meets egg, a miraculous series of biochemical events begin. The DNA of the chromosomes of the original cell divides only 50 times, but results in approximately 100 trillion cells, a number that is greater than all of the stars in the Milky Way galaxy. Furthermore, it is estimated that each of these cells has over 6 trillion biochemical reactions per second, and each cell also knows what all the other cells are doing through the body's own infinite intelligence, which is just absolutely amazing. So I want to take a second and just respect what your bodies are doing, what my body has done, and hopefully will do again, and just the whole process of pregnancy. But I also want to remind you that in all of those biochemical reactions and in everything that your body's doing, it is nature's design to take from the mother everything it needs to take in order to support that growing fetus. So that's why we're going to talk about you being nourished as well as you can be tonight. So unfortunately, pregnancy in the United States is at a pretty scary spot right now. So we're going to talk about some truth. As of right now, 1 of every 9 infants is born prematurely in the United States. We have the worst preterm rates of any Western European country, and our rates compare with Honduras, Kenya, East Timor, and Turkey. So we believe that that shouldn't be the normal. We want to do something about that. Our preterm rates have risen 30% since 1981, and in that same time, there's been an increase in obesity, diabetes, and high blood pressure. So they believe that diet may be a contributor. There was a study done in Norway, and the group of mothers who consumed the Western diet, which was salty foods, sweetened snack foods, white bread, processed meats, they have the highest preterm risk. Also, we're finding that pregnant mothers are obviously, like all of us, are exposed to more toxicity today than ever. They're finding toxins from plastics are present in 99% of pregnant women. And there are 232 toxic chemicals that were found in umbilical cord blood from U.S. newborns, which is really pretty scary. So if we're seeing that our preterm rates are what they are, and we know that diet is likely a contributor, let's talk about what makes us healthy during pregnancy. Well, the good news is the same advice of how to be pregnant during, or how to be healthy during pregnancy, it's the same guidelines you have before you're pregnant or after you're pregnant. It's more whole food, more fruits, vegetables, berries, whole grains, as much as you can eat that is real, because optimal nutrition during pregnancy is necessary. It supports the growth of our placenta, increase in blood volume, increase in cardiac output, in fluid levels, our hormonal changes, the changes in our breast tissue, and our alterations to lung, kidney, urinary, and reproductive functions. That's all going to happen better with better nutrition, and what we're putting in our body is fueling all of those changes. So the good news is that according to a study published in the British Medical Journal, a diet rich in fruits and vegetables is found to reduce the risk of preterm delivery by 15%. And this is my favorite part. In that same article, they found that increasing your intake of healthy foods was more beneficial than excluding the less healthy foods. I remember with my second pregnancy, I knew a lot about nutrition, but I had forgotten how strong those cravings could be. So I took peace in the fact that literally getting more of the good was better and more beneficial to me and my baby than decreasing the less healthy food. So hopefully that makes you feel good tonight. There was a 2016 study that was published in the Lancet that found that prenatal fruit consumption was correlated with superior cognition in 1-year-old infants. And it's really interesting because they found there was no effect if the fruit was consumed within the first year for the child. So that's kind of an interesting study, but what it's telling you is that the fruit that was consumed by the mother was more impactful on the baby's cognition than the fruit that was consumed within the baby's first year of life. And that's amazing. That's how powerful what you're putting into your body is. What you are consuming is what your baby is getting. And then according to a study in the American Journal of Obstetrics and Gynecology, they calculated that each week that a baby stays in the womb between week 32 and 39, there is a 23% decrease in problems such as respiratory distress, jaundice, seizures, temperature instability, and brain hemorrhages. So we know that's the fear, right, with preterm delivery. And all of those weeks later on in pregnancy are very, very important. So if you're on this call, it's because the person who invited you found this amazing solution at some point in their life that likely had an impact on their health, enough so that they were courageous enough to share it with you. So many of us bridge the gap with a phenomenal product called Juice Plus, which was developed over 30 years ago by a doctor. He was very forward thinking. He was a holistic doctor over 30 years ago who helped cancer patients juice. And what happened for him was his dad was diagnosed with lymphoma and given 3 weeks to live. So he decided that he wanted to make his juice more powerful. So instead of juicing his fruits and vegetables, he was going to take the whole entire plant with the pits, the peels, the rinds, the seeds, even the leaves whenever possible, throw it in a massive Vitamix and blend it up. What was left over was a slurry, and he dehydrated that at a cold temperature to preserve the nutrients. And there was a powdered, basically it resulted in a powdered produce. And he ended up just packing his dad full of this powdered produce as much as he could get. And he ended up living for 6 more years. And not only did he live, but he thrived. He had wonderful quality of life. And it was at that time that he knew that he was onto something. So 25 years ago, this amazing product hit the market. And there are 3 things that make it incredibly unique. But real quickly, while we're on this slide, I want you to look at that huge variety of color, from the red in the apple to the orange in the carrots to the red again in the raspberry and the blue in the grapes. And just imagine if your body and your baby's body was getting that variety from all of those different colors every single day. So our product is unique for 3 reasons. Number 1, we are food. So I don't know if you can see in my camera, I'm holding up the bottle, there's a glare, but we have a nutrition label, not a vitamin or a supplement label. So this is whole food in a capsule. There is no warning label. You can't overdose, and I love that. Actually, when I learned this product was super unique was when I realized or learned that I could open up the capsule and give it to my son at 6 months old. As soon as he could eat food, he could eat this product, and that's how I knew it was different. So it's full of phytonutrition instead of isolated vitamins. It's non-GMO and dairy-free and gluten-free. It's NSF certified, which is a third party that validates that what we say is in our product is and nothing more. It's the highest level of certification you can receive, and we've had it for over 20 years. It's also what ensures that our product is free of any herbicides, pesticides, fungicides, mold, yeast, bacteria, which is incredibly important if you're going to nourish your body during pregnancy with this product. And then finally, when our product hit the market, 25 years ago, people were having unique experiences. So they decided that they wanted to see what it was doing in human beings with blood drawn. So Juice Plus is the most researched nutritional product in the world. We have 38 published studies with more underway. We've been researched at some of the most prestigious facilities in the world, like Yale, Vanderbilt, MD Anderson Cancer Center, and really just proving that what we really should already know, which is that fruits and vegetables are powerful, but that specifically Juice Plus is powerful in our body. So today we're going to highlight one amazing study because we're talking about pregnancy. So this was done in Mississippi. This is Dr. Doug Odom. He was an OBGYN, and he recommended Juice Plus to his pregnant patients. And he did a retrospective study. So he looked back on 178 patients that he had that were on Juice Plus compared to 178 of his partner's patients who were not on Juice Plus. And this is what he found. For delivery prior to 37 weeks, for the Juice Plus group, it was at 0%. And for the group, his partner's group, it was at 20%. For preeclampsia, his group was at 0%. His partner's group was at 21%. Birth weight less than 5.5 pounds, the Juice Plus group was at 1%, and his partner's group was at 12%. For admission to the NICU, the Juice Plus group was at 0%, and his partner's group was at 10%. And respiratory distress syndrome, his group was at 0%, and his partner's group was at 8%. And this study is absolutely mind-blowing, and I'm not here to tell you that if you take Juice Plus, you for sure will not have delivery prior to 37 weeks or preeclampsia or admission to the NICU. But what I do know is that you will be better fueled to handle pregnancy. Your baby will be better fueled to handle anything that may come your way. And this study, again, I feel like I could end the presentation right here because it's absolutely amazing. But just know that there are OBGYNs out there that recommend this to their patients because it's good nutrition that both the mom and the babies need. So I want to share this information with you and kind of hit on prenatals for a second. I'm not going to tell you not to take a prenatal, but I want you to know the difference. So this is the label of a multivitamin, and it is some synthetic isolated ingredients compared to an apple. And many people are shocked to learn that an apple they have located over 20,000 different ingredients present in one apple. They've located over 25,000 different unique components in one blueberry. And the reason why real food is so powerful is because ingredient number 7 works with ingredient number 4008 and ingredient number 10,002. It's called synergy in the whole food form. And our body knows exactly what to do with it. And we knew we had a deficiency, which is why we decided to bridge the gap with multivitamins or prenatal vitamins, which we knew we were deficient in folate, which you get from leafy greens. So we started supplementing with folic acid, which is the man-made synthetic version of folate. So I know with my first pregnancy, I started taking a prenatal vitamin. My stomach got upset. My urine turned yellow because my body didn't know what to do with it. It was flushing out the excess. And that won't happen when we're eating real food or when we're eating Juice Plus because it is food. I was also shocked to learn that there was not research on prenatal vitamins. I had no idea. And so with my second pregnancy, when I was able to flood my body with a product that had 38 published research studies, it just gave me that peace of mind to know that I was doing something amazing for myself and for my baby. So I want to share another amazing solution for you, which is our Juice Plus Complete Shakes. I want you to consider that your body is like a car. And a car needs oil and gas and a high quality of each to run well. And your body is the same way. You need micronutrition and macronutrition. So just like if you skipped an oil change or you had low quality oil, as long as you had gas in the tank, your car would probably keep running, but there would be problems brewing that would present later. And that's the same with micronutrition in our body. The micronutrition that we need are those thousands of ingredients from the apple that keep our cells healthy. The macronutrition is the gas. It's the proteins, fats, and carbs. And in our country, we have an abundance of macronutrition, but it is just not a high quality macronutrition. That's where our shakes come in. It does have micronutrition too because they come from plants, but they are delicious. They come in chocolate and vanilla. They're low glycemic, so they stabilize your blood sugar, which is important all the time, but especially during pregnancy. The number one thing my friends tell me about our shakes is they actually keep them full, and that's because they stabilize your blood sugar. They're vegan and non-GMO, gluten and dairy free, full of plants, over 20 plants, and some powerful prebiotic fibers, which can help keep you regular and feed your gut well. So this is an amazing solution because you will be hungry as you're growing a whole nother human life. And this is an amazing solution for a snack or for a meal to help really put gas in your tank to help give you energy. And then in October of last year, our company came up with our first capsule product in 15 years, which is our Juice Plus Omega Blend. So we know that in general in our culture, we are very deficient in omega fatty acids. And the ones that we do get are not of a high quality. So our Juice Plus Omega blend is all plant-based. We skip the fish and we go straight to the plants. We actually get our omega-3s from the algae, which is where the fish get the algae. And it's a full spectrum. So it's omega-3, 5, 6, 7, and 9. We believe that God put all of them on earth for a reason, and we need all of them and the synergy of all of them in a high quality. I know when I was on prenatal with my first child, I had a prenatal with DHA. That's becoming more normal because they know that we are deficient in omega fatty acids. So I even learned something prepping for this call about postnatal depletion. And like I mentioned earlier, your body will give everything to this growing fetus. And there are studies that are finding that it's taking up to 10 years for women to replenish the omega stores in their brain that the baby is taking while it's being developed. Imagine all the fat that you have in your body. Your baby needs that fat. So I was thrilled to be able to add this omega blend into my diet. And you'll get to hear a little bit more about this later from my friend Casey about what she feels it's done for her. And so then finally, this is my favorite quote from Dr. Richard Du Bois. He was the head of infectious disease in Atlanta, Georgia. He was named one of America's top doctors, and he was one of the first of thousands of healthcare professionals to come alongside the Juice Plus company and recommend this product, along with Dr. Doug Odom, the OBGYN that I recommended earlier, or that I mentioned earlier. And he says, there is nothing available anywhere else in the world with or without a prescription that has been clinically proven to do what Juice Plus does. So just imagine, what this could look like for you in a year, in 5 years, in 10 years, to have those powders in your body, in your growing baby's body, and then as soon as they can eat, to have it fueling their cells every day. So at this point, I'm going to stop sharing my screen and bring on my wonderful friend, Casey Brummett. Casey Fallgater. Oh goodness, she's a newlywed, as you can tell, and she is expecting her first. She's due in November, and she's just going to share her story of why Juice Plus made sense for her.
Awesome. Thanks, Julie. Okay, yeah, all of that information is so amazing. And I really didn't know, with all of those studies, really any of that prior to this. So what I did know was that fruits and vegetables are super important, right? And I have been lucky enough to have been fueling my body with Juice Plus for 14 years. My mom got our whole family started 14 years ago. And so I have been taking those fruit, vegetable, and berry capsules for 14 years. And it's done amazing things for my health. And I just knew it was a no-brainer. Obviously, when I got pregnant, I'm 21 weeks pregnant. This is my first. I'm 26. And I just knew it wasn't even a thought that crossed my mind that, this was going to be the best thing for me and for baby during this whole time. And so one thing that I do specifically want to touch on, like Julie said, are the omegas, and those are fairly new. So I think I started taking those maybe just a little over a year ago. And what I noticed just with myself right away was my hormonal balance. And I noticed that with my cycle and my PMS and all of that great stuff. And it just totally balanced all of that out. And I could tell a huge difference when I would go without them for a couple weeks, which was silly. I would run out and I would just not reorder more for a while. And I could tell a huge difference, with my mental clarity, all of the fuzziness that goes on up here that week prior, and just the anxiety that I would experience. It was crazy. And so when I got pregnant, I knew that it was going to do amazing things for my body, with all of the hormonal changes as well. And so up until this point, I'm just about halfway through. And I know that every pregnancy is different. Every body is different. And I know that my next pregnancy could be totally different. But I totally feel like it has just made a world of difference for me. I feel like my totally normal self. and I don't have the crazy food cravings. I eat like I did before. And I just haven't experienced like the mood swings, those crazy hormonal changes in my body. And I just firmly believe it's because of this foundation that I've been fueling my body with for so long. So I am just so, so thankful and so glad that I will have Juice Plus forever, and can't wait to see, just the future and actually meet this little one and beyond. So that is my experience so far. And Julie, I'm going to pass it back to you.
Yes, thank you so much for sharing, Casey. And I can totally relate. I know when I'm out of the omega my diet, I noticed a big difference in my mental clarity and a decrease in my anxiety as well. So I'm crazy about that product. So thank you for sharing, and congratulations to you with expecting baby number one. So at this point, I'm going to pass it over to my friend Julie. She is a mother of 8, which we don't always tell people right off the bat, do we? But her children range from age 1 to age 16, and she is also a doula. She is incredibly knowledgeable about nutrition, and she's had an amazing experience because she can compare. She wasn't on Juice Plus for all of her pregnancies. So we're just excited to hear from Julie tonight. So go ahead and unmute yourself and share your story.
All right, can you hear me? Okay, so yes, as Julie said, my journey began 16 years ago when I was 27 and found myself pregnant, and woke up to the thought that what I was putting in my body actually mattered. And that mother instinct that we talk about, like, that kicked in for me immediately. And the reality is that it always mattered, but it was motherhood that woke me up to that reality. And so I took some nutrition classes early on, the Bradley method of childbirth, which is really focused on nutrition. And that just fueled a passion in me for how I was going to eat and what I was going to be about for that pregnancy. And that has continued. Fast forward 16 years, and I've continued to love nutrition and all things pregnancy. And that's why I serve as a doula, to be able to help women in this just amazing time. And so you fast forward to my 8th pregnancy, and that's when I was introduced to Juice Plus because of my son who had asthma. And my neighbor Julie told me about Juice Plus for him, and he has a great story of his own. But I was able to take it starting at that same time, about halfway through this pregnancy, and I had the most amazing pregnancy. And I was 42 years old, and by age standards, probably shouldn't have. But I had more energy, and I think Julie could attest. I dragged her out like 5 times a week for a walk. She could not believe. The day before I gave birth to Vivian, I was walking up hills. Did a 3-mile walk with her in my belly, and gave birth 12 hours later. I did not get sick one time. And that's unusual because when we're pregnant, I don't know how many of you know this, but our immune system is a bit suppressed. And so a lot of times you will get those little colds and sort of things, but I did not. And a measurable outcome that I have after 8 pregnancies, this was the first one that I was not anemic. I had always been just slightly anemic, which is not uncommon for pregnant women, but I walked into the hospital in a solid, just middle ground. 12 to 16 is normal. I was at a 14. So that was huge for me. I just loved that. I mean, that's my story. Although the more I learn about the product now, didn't even need a story per se. But I want to leave you with something. I heard something really intriguing the other day, and it was said by a man named Jeff Olson, who is a 2-time Olympic champion. He won gold medals or medals back in the 1992 and 96 Olympics in the area of skiing. And he said something that I thought was profound. And he said that pregnancy is the best example of human performance that he knows of. And I want to repeat that because I think it's profound. Pregnancy is the best example of human performance that he can think of. And this is coming from an Olympic champion who has seen all kinds of athletic performance. But when we think about what the human body is doing and what it's capable of, and what we are training for as pregnant women, I mean, when we think about athletes, we know how careful they are with what they eat and how they eat and when they eat it. And we know that their performance is going to be directly correlated to how they're fueling their body. They're going to see the outcome in how fast their race is or what kind of injuries they have. Well, it's the same thing when we're pregnant, ladies. When we are fueling our body well, we can be assured we are setting ourselves up to have the best outcomes. And our injuries as pregnant women may look different. You know, an athlete has a pulled muscle or it's having a hard time recovering. In pregnancy, injuries look like the things that Julie talked about. They look like preterm labor. They look like low birth weight. They look like preeclampsia. So many of these things they can be avoided with how we are training during the 9 months. I can't stress enough that we can be proactive. We don't have to be victims. We don't have to react. We can do something now at the very beginning. So that's what I have for you tonight. I'm going to leave you with that.
Wow. Now you know why we have her share on these calls. She is amazing and she can speak from so much experience. So thank you so much, Julie. We loved hearing your heart. Thank you. Thank you for your vulnerability. So, excuse me. At this point, I'm going to bring on my amazing friend, Ali Vitruba. She is a nurse and a mom. She has 2 little boys at home, and she is expecting her 3rd. She is due in August. She is brilliant, one of the smartest women that I know. And I would just love for her to unmute herself and just share her story about why Juice Plus made sense to her.
Hey guys. So yeah, as Julie said, I'm Allie. I am 9 months pregnant with my 3rd baby, and we are so excited to meet this little one. But Juice Plus didn't make sense to me at first. It really didn't. It started showing up at my apartment in New York, and I had met my husband, and his mom said, well, if this girl's going to be the future mother of my grandbabies, she better be eating Juice Plus. So it started showing up. And at the time, I didn't really know what it was. I was in my very early 20s. I was living in New York, and I wasn't paying attention. And just like Julie said, it wasn't until 3 or 4 years later, when my husband and I were married and we were pregnant with our first son, that all of a sudden I realized I knew a lot about disease and very little about health. And I really all of a sudden had this mental shift of the fact that I needed to learn a ton in order to really nourish and feed my body for a healthy pregnancy, because that obviously becomes the goal as soon as you start thinking about getting pregnant or once you are pregnant. And so it led me down this entire rabbit hole. I did not know the link between nutrition and disease. I had no idea the impact that the food we eat every day was having on our bodies. And unlike Casey and Julie, I did not have a super simple first pregnancy. I struggled with hyperemesis, which I don't know if any of you have it, but if you do, you're in good company. So I threw up between 30 and 40 times a day for the first 20 weeks of my first pregnancy. And I know that if it weren't for Juice Plus, I quite honestly don't know how I would have grown this baby. I could not eat anything. And the things that I could eat were not things that were serving my body well. But I was able to maintain a really healthy pregnancy despite all the vomiting, and went on to have a perfectly healthy, very smart little boy who then has a very close sibling right behind him, and that pregnancy thankfully did not follow in the same footsteps. But I want to touch briefly on kind of my postpartum experience, because pregnancy I love and it's so important and I could talk about it all day, but I think Julie and Casey have done a beautiful job of talking about those. And so the one thing that I really felt like people talked about all the time when I was pregnant was, oh my gosh, you're going to be so tired. You're never going to get off the couch. Your life changes. And of course, it's interesting to me that once you tell people you're pregnant, they tell you like all the bad things. They want to tell you how traumatic it's going to be. It's an interesting phenomenon. But I waited and waited. My son was born at 3 o'clock in the morning on a Saturday morning or a Friday morning, whatever it was. And I was like high with that new baby high. And then I waited and waited for that shoe to drop, and it didn't drop. We went home 24 hours later. We hosted a brunch the following day, and my husband went back to work full time on Monday, which is exactly what happened with my second pregnancy, where I had a 1.5-year-old at home. And I really didn't feel that mind-numbing, bone-chilling exhaustion that I hear my friends talk about. And I truly accredit so much of my recovery and my ability to bounce back into life. Not saying you should, not saying that's what the design is. I think we were designed to rest and heal and take that time as much as we can. It was not exactly in the cards for me at that time, and that's okay, because my body was getting everything it needed in order to step right back into life as it was. I successfully breastfed both of my boys my first one straight through half my pregnancy with my second one, and never struggled with supply. And really neither of my children dropped below their birth weight. Both of them lost 2 ounces at birth weight, which is almost unheard of. Most people, it takes 2 to 3 weeks sometimes to get that baby back up to birth weight. And so I was so grateful that I had this awesome milk supply that came in right away, and I was able to nourish these babies, because it's not just about the quantity of what you can give them, but the quality of what you're giving them. And so I just am super grateful to know that what I was doing for my body before I was pregnant is exactly what I should have been doing while I was pregnant, which is exactly what I continue to do after I'm pregnant, because I really don't want to buy into this whole, this is really good for you, except if you're pregnant, nursing, or under the age of 12. If those caveats are built in, it should raise a red flag for you. There is something concerning if it's not safe for pregnant women and children. I love knowing that as a pregnant mama, that's exactly what I needed to be doing. And when my kids turned 6 months old, I opened those capsules into their mouths, because the way I nourish them in the womb is exactly how I wanted to nourish them out.
Boom.
Right.
I knew you were going to end on that. I love it. That's awesome. Oh my goodness. We're totally blessed to hear from Casey and Julie and Allie tonight. They are amazing. So at this point, we really want to invite you to do one of 3 things, or all of them if you'd like. But number 1, maybe you're starting to realize the importance of how you eat while you're expecting, and you're going to run to the grocery store and get as much whole food as possible. And if that's where you're at, we want you to do that. We want you and your baby to be as healthy as possible. Number 2, maybe you are excited about the idea of adding Juice Plus to your diet, especially while expecting. And if that's how you feel, we'd love to help you with that. Reach out to the person who invited you. Juice Plus is inexpensive. It's around $2 a day. Children age 4 through 18 can get it for free with a sponsoring adult. So we would love to help you bridge that gap. And number 3, maybe you were listening to this and thinking, oh my gosh, my friend Sarah and my sister and everyone else needs to hear this exact message. And if that's how you feel, we want to tell you that we're on a mission. We're on a mission to inspire healthy living around the world. And we're looking for people to help us share this mission. So tell the person who invited you so that they can connect with the person who you thought of who needs to hear this message. And thank you so much for taking the time out of your night to just do something healthy for yourself and for your baby. So I'm going to unmute all of you, and you can go ahead and say goodbye. Thank you, everyone who shared.
Thank you, Julie.